Excellent.
Okay, if I can get you all to take a seat, please. Chris is going to take a picture.
I'm not seeing it anywhere.
Okay, it's not on the, if you want to, YouTube.
There's
Yeah, I'm on
drinks
YouTube.
in the cooler in the back,
it's
and
right
there are bagels and cream cheese fresh from Panera, so please help yourself. And welcome to the All College meeting. And I am going to announce all of the people who are presenting so that I don't have to come back up here and they can just follow each
There's
other.
live now.
But we have quite a bit of important information today. We have an overview of the Professional Learning Network by Kim, and we have preparation for the Great Shakeout by Rick Hernandez, and then preparation for accreditation, Mr. Stephen Eaton, and then some announcements at the end from Chris Clark. I do want you to know that this is, I'm sure you all know, but this is our accreditation self-evaluation year. It's the most important thing we're going to do this year because the job that we do on our self-evaluation will determine our accreditation status when the team comes out and visits us. So it's important that we really do a good job of telling our story. So this won't be the first time that you hear from Mr. Eaton. In fact, he will do this presentation at a workshop for classified staff that will be held on a Friday in November in the afternoon so that we can release classified staff from their duties and have them come to a workshop. He'll also be doing this at a faculty meeting, and he's also going to be doing it for the managers. So we want everybody to have a really good idea of what the accreditation standards are, the work that we are trying to address as we do our self-evaluation, and so that all of you can help us tell our story and support it with evidence that you will help us find in the different areas. So I'm going to turn it over now to Kim, and she'll talk to us about the Professional Learning Network.
So the State Chancellor's Office put together what they're calling the Professional Learning Network. This rolled out actually in August and was originally precipitated by the OEI work that was happening within the state and the need to be able to communicate and train our staff on some of the new initiatives that are coming out. But also just a general discussion within the state also about getting staff development. So this was the new resource that they put together, and you can see that there's a whole group of things, and we'll kind of look at each one here in just a minute. But I want to just show you a quick introductory video.
Maybe. Come on, wake up. We had this all planned.
Yeah, we did. All right, so you guys- that's usual thing.
Yeah, of course.
The California community colleges make up the largest system of higher education in the country. Altogether, we run 113 colleges and serve more than 2 million students. To serve our students the best way possible, we need to ensure that our faculty, staff, administrators, and trustees have access to the best professional development possible, access to the knowledge, skills, and tools we need to deliver outstanding programs and results to students. Yet, while our system has many valuable professional development resources, historically these materials have been scattered in many different places and on many different websites. And while our colleges run many highly effective programs, colleagues at other campuses often don't know about them. That's why the California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office and a number of system partners have created the Professional Learning Network. The Professional Learning Network is a one-stop site of effective practices, trainings, and other resources. It's intended to make learning, connecting, and sharing easier for all of us. The Professional Learning Network can be accessed at prolearningnetwork.ccco.edu. Once you access the homepage, you can go to the upper right-hand corner of the navigation menu to register if you are a first-time user, or log in. Doing so will give you access to all the components of the site: resources, Learn, which features thousands of self-paced training videos on digital tools and professional skills, Connect, a discussion board that the whole system can participate in, MyPD, in which you can create and maintain your own personalized professional development plan, speakers directory, and a comprehensive system-wide calendar of events. As you explore the Professional Learning Network, keep in mind that the site is designed to be responsive to mobile and tablet devices.
So we're just going to spend a couple of minutes. Mostly today, we just wanted you to be aware that you have this opportunity to go in and do some additional training. But if we can click on resources real quick. It's going to let us today. So here, once you sign in, you can search for resources. There's a whole lot that this will come up with. You can also look in this area at popular posts in a particular area and see what the state's kind of talking about, what people, your colleagues are talking about across the state. Let's go out and go to the next one. Oh, it's not going to show it to us without. Okay. So normally if I was logged into this, what you would see are two different key learning resources right now. One is called Grovo, which is specifically geared toward really technical things. So if you want to learn how to do some technical thing in SQL, you can go in there and they have training videos on that. The other side would be lynda.com, which a lot of people are familiar with lynda.com. As a tool for learning. But again, some of those are pretty technical, but not necessarily as technical as the Grovo group is. Will Connect let us do anything? So Connect has a bunch of forums that you can't see. A lot of this we're not going to be able to look at. But again, just know that you can go into these forums and see. Like right now, I'm working on common assessment. So there's a common assessment forum, and I can go in there and look at what the discussion is right now with regard to common assessment. Connect. You can actually connect with your peers when you set up your profile. You can put in a picture and talk about what you're working on, and it will work like kind of another social media site and kind of connect you with other people that are doing similar type things. MyPD is where you would actually set up your own professional development. You can type in there, I want to learn more about, or this year my goal is to, and it will actually let you know, like if there's conferences that are going to be coming about in that particular subject matter, or other professional development opportunities related. And then speakers, that one might actually let us see. There's a speakers directory, and this is where they actually have recommended speakers. So if we had some professional development money that we were looking to put together training for staff, we can look in this directory and come up with people that are somewhat vetted by other schools. And then the calendar is a really nice feature. It lets you know all of the things that are going on throughout the state, on what dates. And you can look at a big calendar, you can look at the individual explanations of the items. And that's all we have. So when we are done with this, Chris is going to send out kind of a recap, and it'll have the link so you guys can just click on it in the recap. And definitely take advantage of this new learning opportunity. Mr. Hernandez.
Shake out, don't freak out. It's that time of year again, you guys, on 10:20, at 10:20, we're gonna do our exercise of recognizing of a situation that would cause us to adapt and recover and acknowledge at least if there's a situation going on, and then we go through the exercise of evacuating our building and being outside the designated areas. As the weeks go closer to the date, I'm gonna send out flyers just like this in an email, and also our evacuation map where it shows where we meet at. Different buildings at different areas, so the corresponding places will go. We need the information. Once again, next coming days, you probably guys are gonna get sick of me sending it out, because I just want to keep on reminding you guys of anything like this happens. We know we've gone through our active shooter training. This is just one of the other components to that. Really not much to say about it, except for questions at the end of this short video that I'm going to show you guys. Go ahead, Glenn. Let's see if my video works.
We'll see.
This is the Great California Shakeout. You're joining millions of Californians in the largest earthquake drill in U.S. history. Practice now so you can protect yourself during a real earthquake. This is an earthquake drill. Right now, drop, cover, and hold on. Unless you're driving, drop to the ground now. If you're standing during a large earthquake, the ground might jerk strongly and throw you down. Take cover under something sturdy to protect yourself from objects being hurled across the room. Hold on to it until the shaking stops. If you can't get under something, stay low and protect your head and neck with your arms. Now, look around. What objects might fall or be thrown at you in an earthquake that you should secure in place now? Finally, strong earthquakes may trigger tsunami. If you're near the beach during an earthquake, drop cover and hold on, then walk quickly to high ground when the shaking stops. This drill is over. Visit shakeout.org for simple steps to help you survive and recover from a major earthquake, including how to secure your space. Thank you for taking part in the Great California Shakeout.
So the email, we'll probably be adding different emails, different videos, so just as a reminder. We've done this in the past, and we've had great exercises, where once again, you necessarily don't need to go under the desk, but recognize that there's an event going on, and then you evacuate the building, meet in our designated areas, and then I have my team, our building marshals, they go through the buildings, make sure everything's clear, make sure everything's happening in a cordial way, even in an exercise trip or twist an ankle, what have you, but we're there to make sure that we go through the buildings, make sure you guys are all cleared out, make sure you guys are safe, and then get it all clear. In all of this, a special reminder, we need to make sure that we are signed up for Viking Alert. Viking Alert is very, very essential. We saw that happening with our college closure. A lot of people weren't getting information because they weren't signed up for Viking Alert. Please, 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 if you're not signed up already, sign up for Viking Alert. A responsible person like Chris will put out this event alert going out, and it'll be how to exercise. I don't know, you have to exercise. It's going to give you all clear. It's going to give the action, the response, and it's going to give you all clear to let you guys know. Any questions? Yes, George.
Can we look at our homepage and see where the Viking?
Oh, let's do that. Let's do Viking Alert.
And talk to the faculty about what you want them to do with the students to prepare for this.
Once again, it's just acknowledging that there's an event going on. If you have a class at 10:20, you make sure that you're just noticing. Actually, you know what it's going to be? It's probably going to be the Viking Alert addressing and alerting you that an event is going on. At that point, your class you can stop recognizing, obviously the whole ground's under shape, but recognize that there's an event going on. We stop, pause. If you want to get to the point where you're underneath the desk, if that's available, we just recognize that for 2 minutes or so, and then evacuate the building and go to your adjoining site so that you can collect, make sure that everybody's fine, and then until the all clear comes out via the Viking Alert, you can then go back. This is our homepage, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So 2 steps, I believe. Viking Alert, 1.
Yeah, just get on the homepage. And then,
So homepage, 1 click away. Sign up at the bottom, I believe. There it is. Make that like flashing. What can we do?
we could do it.
That'd be pretty cool. And then, gosh, it's totally different when I signed up. So, I signed up a long time ago.
No, it's-
So there it is. So it's a couple clicks away to make sure that your mobile number's in there. I think it asks you what type of, if it's Verizon or is that the case still? I know it did ask me. Yeah, so then you agree to it, and then at that point, you'll be getting all the alerts that you need to know of the activities or what happens here on the campus on an emergency and emergency notice as well.
And you're sending that link out to the video so that faculty can show it to their classes?
Yeah, as we go on for the days till 10, 12, 10, 20, 10, 20, you're gonna get emails, you're gonna get flyers, you're gonna get emails, just to make sure that it's not surprised. A lot of people just throw these emails away on the side, but I'm gonna be sending these out. This is huge. Please sign up for Viking. When we had a closure for the fire and smoke, I was getting phone calls about, do we come in? And it's easy to answer one or two, but when you're getting, 10, 20 phone calls, it's hard to answer. Information would have went out, Viking alert, and then it's an easy situation. Yes.
So do you really think they needed at the beginning of that video, the phrase, unless you are driving? Do you think people would really
I love
do
that one.
Dave California, everybody's driving. Driving pull over, feel the effect. Thanks, any other questions? Really quick, I know that most of you have gone to the exercise last year and the year before. Email, call, any questions?
I just had a comment. One of my sons was in Chile, and he's living in Concepcion when they had the big earthquake here about 4 years ago. And he was on the 5th floor. And we always think, we've lasted through earthquakes, many earthquakes before, but in this particular instance, it was over an 8 on the Richter scale. And he was on the 5th floor, and his bed moved from one side of the room to the other side of the room. All the doors in the apartment building were jammed shut, so he couldn't get out. And then in the aftermath, for about 2 weeks afterwards, there were barricades in all the streets, and all the bridges were down, there were sinkholes. It was an awful situation. They had to declare military law, and they had looters and the whole thing. So it can happen even in a civilized, first world country.
And like Chris says, sometimes it shakes and we don't think much about it. Oh, it's gonna go away, or whatever. You just don't know. So I would react like if it's gonna be, very decided in any manner at all. Any other questions? Yes.
When we evacuate the classroom, do we leave the door locked or unlocked? Now that we've got
That's a very good question.
It's easier
Let me
to
address
clear
it.
if it's unlocked.
Yeah, let me address that in emails to come. Because some door situations, there might be a good practice for a lockdown area. So let me address that in the next couple of days. Yeah, that goes over. Good question, thank you. It's really good. I love it when people make me think first. Good question.
In the last couple of years, I've locked the door behind so that students can read their, items in the classroom, so I've always locked the door.
Thank you. It might be easier with our mechanisms that we have, to put our mechanisms to the challenge to see how efficient we are. That'd be great. Perfect. Yes. I don't know if anybody knows, but D Building Cosmo has aluminum frames, so magnets don't work. So we're trying to find those situations for D Building. I know. We'll find something out. Any more? Thank you very much. Yes.
I have one comment on that. If there's ever a tragic incident, either a bad earthquake, I know this is only a drill, but if something does happen, everybody's possessions will be locked down along with it. So if we decide to leave them and lock them in the classroom, we may not get them back to the lock if it's a real.
So they might leave their books, but they ought to take their purses.
Yeah.
And this is just one exercise that triggers further exercises. When to engage in activate the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center. All those things start coming into play when a disaster of this magnitude starts happening. So a lot of other exercises are yet to come. Yes, please.
Is the link broken for Viking? Because when you click on it, you go to. Oh, did you?
Yeah, we got it. It worked.
That's it.
Go down. Yeah, go there.
That's the,
That wasn't the same page that you showed us on. Okay. So you don't have to sign it.
somebody correct me if I'm wrong, it's required to be 2 clicks away, which this was 2 clicks away in the registration.
That's it.
Thank you very much, Steve Eaton.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Rick.
Unless you want to present this one?
Yeah, no, Rick can do that. Oh, yes.
Between the two of us, we'll get.
All right.
Help with that?
No, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity of going through our comprehensive institutional self-evaluation report for 2018. Even though it says 2018, most of the work has got to be done this year. So that because we have summer in the way, and then we have to go through our participatory process to get these things approved, then it has to be published and sent out to the team that will be visiting us. So this manual that provides all of the dictates and the things that we need to think about, to write about, and prove that we do, is going to be turning into something like this. And so for the next couple of hours, I'll do a dramatic reading for you of everything. So, even though this is, Dr. Thomas and I spent last week at Allen Hancock College over in Santa Maria. It was nice to see fog in the morning. And Michelle was there as well, though she's trying to forget it. So this is what they did, which is like 475 pages long. And the one that we did, Barstow did in 2006, was also about this length. So it's going to be a lot of work. There are graphs and pictures and that sort of stuff in it, but it is a lot of writing, a lot of self-reflection, and a lot of evidence gathering and putting the evidence in a place that others can find it easily, whether it's going to be a paper document or something posted in a file. Are we going to link them so visitors can just click on it and see that in the file? So let's go through what is going to be in this document that we're going to be so proud of by the end of this process, in which everyone is encouraged to participate. There will be some voluntolding and some volunteering because everybody has certain knowledge about what we do and how we can prove that we're doing it well. Excuse me, the four components of a self-evaluation report are the eligibility requirements. Are we meeting, all the requirements that are thrown at us by the federal government, by Title V, by the Ed Code, by the Chancellor's Office, and by the accrediting agencies. There are the accreditation standards, and this is where most of the work is going to be in element or component number 2. Then they're going to look at to see if we are compliant with all of the policies of that same group I listed before, the Fed, the Chancellor, accreditation. And then we're going to be writing a quality focus essay, which I'll talk about in a bit. So let's go through the 21 eligibility requirements one by one. No, I'm not going to do that too. But each of these eligibility requirements have got to be responded to within the body of the document. The first 5 that I've bolded have to be separated out. We have to address those specifically by themselves. The remaining 16 will be found in the narrative of the larger document. But do we have the authority by the citizens, by the Chancellor, and by our Board of Trustees to be open and operating? So where's the documentation that gives us the authority to be here? Are we actually operating? I mean, there are schools out there that pretend, let's go like Trump University, that says, we're a university and therefore we should be able to grant federal financial aid and borrow money and those sorts of things. So they will have to check to make sure that we are actually doing business day to day. Are we offering degrees and certificates, and how do we prove that we're doing that? Do we have a chief executive officer that has the authority to run the operation day to day? And are we financially accountable? Do we have money to sustain our operations so that we're not drawing people in, students in, and then not being able to fulfill what we said we were going to do? ITT comes to mind, right? So that's why these eligibility requirements are so important. And the list goes on. Do we have a mission? Do we have a governing board? Do we offer gen ed courses? Do we have qualified faculty? Do we have an admissions process? Do we have the financial resources, as I said earlier? Do we have an institutional plan, and do we evaluate the plan? And do we have any integrity? And how do we prove that we have integrity? Well, that's something that we have to do as we find the evidence throughout our system. The bulk of the document, like I said, is the actual standards, and there are 4 standards, and each one of those standards has comically substandards, and we call them subsections. So let's talk about standard number 1, and it says, mission, academic quality, and institutional effectiveness and integrity. Now, within that standard, there are 3 subcategories. So you will hear people talking about, well, I'm working on 1A, or I'm working on 2C. Okay, so 1A, and there are 4 statements that have to be addressed. I usually call them questions that have to be answered, that the ACC, JC, and our peers are asking us. And like I said, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 under mission. One sample of what's under mission is the institution's programs and services are aligned with its mission. The mission guides decision-making, planning, and resource allocation, and informs institutional goals for student learning and achievement. How are we going to address that statement, and where's the evidence that we're doing those things? So in the body of our narrative, as we tell our story regarding this particular element, we are going to say, we do the following things in this way, and here's the evidence, embed a link to a document that says we do it this way. So what would evidence be for that? For anything to do with the mission, for example. Have we done in the last couple of years anything with our mission? Nance? Your outside voice, please.
Oh, talking to my husband. Would that be more about the strategic goals and strategies that have been addressed to support the mission?
Yeah, the IEC started 2 years ago, and we went through the process of reviewing our mission and updating it, and then from there we went on to the strategic priorities. So we have those meeting minutes, we have the final document. We would have to show several meeting minutes because it was the IEC, it was the Board of Trustees, it was the Shared Governance Council. So that, yes, those would be the things that we would have to show.
And Stephen.
Yes, go ahead, anytime.
I think those are awesome things that show that we have a mission and that we've set it. But this standard is asking us, is everything that you do linked somehow to your mission?
Yes.
And that's what the team, when they come in, is asking about. If we're doing things that are not linked to our mission, why are we doing it? Okay?
So as I work with each standard, and some standards that those committees have already met, I go through and circle the more important words in these statements. And Dr. Thomas is correct. If you look towards the end of the first line, the institution's programs and services are aligned. And that's what they will be looking for. So we can't say, oh yeah, we have a mission and everything's fine. We have to show how it is aligned, the important words in those phrases. Category B, 1B, has 9 statements that have to be responded to, all about assuring quality and effectiveness. The statement sample on 1 through 9 is the institution defines and assesses student learning outcomes for all instructional programs and student and learning support services. So that's the whole program review, the SLOs, the AUOs, everybody is working on those learning outcomes. You know, what do student services want their students to be able to do at the end of the process? What is the outcome of all the services that we provide? All instructional programs. Not only is that SLOs, but that's PLOs, program learning outcomes. You take history 1A, it has 3 SLOs. By the end of the semester, the students will be able to do 1, 2, 3. But by the end, by the time they receive their history associates, what are the program learning outcomes? And those all have to be addressed. And we have to make sure that they're assessed. But not just that they're in place, but that we look at the outcomes. We have 85% of our students at the end of the program, history program, that get it. What are we doing about the 15% that didn't? What are we going to change? What are we going to improve? 1C is about institutional integrity, and there are 14 statements that have to be addressed. Sample of one of those is the institution regularly reviews institutional policies, procedures, and publications to assure integrity in all representations of its mission, programs, and services. So the visiting team is going to be looking at not just do we have integrity in our policies, but are the policies there? Are there procedures that go along with the policies? And do we publicize them? Where are they published? Where can people see our policies and procedures? And that they all represent the mission and programs and services of the college. Any questions about standard 1, mission and integrity? Institutional effectiveness. Standard 2, student learning programs and support services. It also has 3 categories. 2A has 16 statements that we have to address about our instructional programs. One of those statements is the institution identifies and regularly assesses learning outcomes for courses, programs, certificates, and degrees using established institutional procedures. Do we have a SLOAC handbook? And when was the last time it was updated? Where can people find it? Do we have a program review handbook? Where can people find it? Those sorts of issues. The institution has officially approved current course outlines that include SLOs. The team is going to be looking to see that we have all those SLOs in place in our course outlines of record. Where do they need to go to find that? We have to open up curriculum to them. And that all has to be up to date. In every class section, students receive a course syllabus that includes learning outcomes from the institution's officially approved course outline. So not only do we have to show them that faculty turn in their syllabus every semester, somebody is going to do, one of these visitors, or 2 or 3 of these visitors, are going to take a sample of those syllabi, and they're going to say, yes, there are SLOs 1, 2, 3 listed every semester. Now let's see if those SLOs match the course outline of record in curriculum. Category B, 2B, is about the library and learning support services, and there are 4 statements that have to be addressed. And standard 2C has 8 statements for student support services, and a sample of one of those 8, the institution assures equitable access to all of its students by providing appropriate, comprehensive, and reliable services to students regardless of the service location or the delivery method. So it's not that we provide student services here on campus. Do we provide tutoring, support, enrollment, and all those support services to our online students? Do we provide all of those services to the folks at State Street and to the soldiers and their dependents at Borderwood? And how are we going to prove that we do, or what are we going to say if we don't? Standard 3, about our resources. 3A talks about our human resources. There are 15 statements that have to be addressed. One of them is the institution has a sufficient number of staff and with appropriate qualifications to support the effective educational, technological, physical, and administrative operations of the institution. So they're going to be looking at our HR files. They're going to count the number of classified staff. They're going to count the number of administrators, middle managers. All of that has to be addressed. They're going to be asking questions, 4 different categories under physical resources, 5 under technology resources. Sample statement is the institution assures that technology resources at all locations where it offers courses, programs, and services are implemented and maintained to ensure reliable access, safety, and security. So that means at all locations, do we have great technology at State Street and at the Fort, and can we talk to those folks, and do we support them when there are times of need, safety, and security? 3D has 16 statements that need to be responded to about our financial resources, planning, fiscal responsibility, responsibility and stability, our liabilities, and our contractual agreements. Standard 4, leadership and governance. Standard 4A has 7 statements. It's about decision-making roles and processes. Sample, the processes for decision-making and the resulting decisions are documented and widely communicated across the institution. That's why we have All College. We're getting a new newsletter. We're constituency groups across the committees that are supposed to be doing report outs to other committees. Do we communicate it across the institution? 4B is about our chief executive officer, and there are 6 statements, none that I want to talk about publicly today. No, I'll talk to her. This is my best material, people. She's sitting right there. 4C is about our governing board. A sample of one of those 13 statements is, the governing board acts in a manner consistent with its policies and bylaws. The board regularly assesses its policies and bylaws for their effectiveness in fulfilling the college mission and revises as necessary. And we have gone through a lot of policy updates. The board does an annual retreat. They review their goals every year. That's why we need to keep not just these steps, but everybody who serves on the committee, that we need to have all those agendas, and we need to take quality notes, that they are sent to Jessica and they're posted, so we can keep track and people can look, because we have no secrets, and we need to make sure that we are acting consistently across the institution. So those are the 4 standards, and that's really the bulk of this big document, okay? However, there's more to see. There's also a checklist of some things that we'll go over here in a minute that the team is going to have to look at. Do we do these specific things? And they'll check a box. And then there are 3 options. They do it beautifully. They do it so-so. They don't do it at all. All of those boxes are going to get checked. And then the team has an opportunity to write a narrative about the status of this particular category. So the first compliance thing that we have to talk about is the public notification of an evaluation team visit and third-party comment. Prior to a visit or to the end of this process, we need to let the public know that we're going through an accreditation visit, and they have the opportunity to comment on how we're doing things. Did we say to the public, our district, folks across the district, that we're going through this, and please comment if you feel you have something to say. The institution has made the appropriate and timely effort to do this. The institution cooperates with the evaluation team. The institution demonstrates compliance with commission policy on rights and responsibility of the commission and member institutions with third-party comment, and they'll check those boxes. Compliance number 2 is about standards and performance with respect to student achievement. How many people have heard of institutional set standards? Oh my, like 1 person in the room. To be in compliance with the ACCJC and the Chancellor, we have to set institutional sets. We have to set standards. We have to set standards of excellence for our students in course completion, degree completion, employment, job opportunities, all those sorts of things. So how are we doing on that? And this is what we'll have to, I won't read all of that to you, but that's how detailed it can get. Compliance number 3, credits, program length, and tuition. Are we factoring how long a course should be, how many credit hours it should be? Do we have the appropriate number of units per degree? If we're forcing a student to be in class 120 hours, are we giving them the appropriate amount of units for that work? How do we calculate those things? Compliance number 4, do we publicize our transfer policies, and do we do it on a standard that is acceptable across the state and across the country? Do we let kids know, yes, you can transfer these credits in, no, you can't transfer these credits in, and these credits you can transfer out to other institutions? Where do we publicize that, and is it all up to date? Compliance number 5, distance education and correspondence education. We don't do correspondence education, so we can take away some of this. But do we follow the Department of Education, the Federal Department of Education's policies on distance education, so we can give federal financial aid? Do we follow Ed Code, Title V, and Chancellor's? And are we using best practices? So the big thing is, do we verify who our students are through distance education? And how do we do that? We make them go through a proctored test. with somebody who can verify their identification and things? And do we have regular and effective or substantive contact with our students? Do teachers talk to the students online, or are they just posting assignments and then handing out a grade at the end of the semester? How do we prove this? One of the challenges for colleges right now is it's almost impossible, or we haven't figured out a way yet, to capture the conversations that are going on outside of Moodle or outside of Canvas. So we have discussion boards, and that's a pretty good way to have regular and effective contact with students. But what if the student or the student and the faculty member are emailing questions and concerns back and forth, or using Twitter or whatever? How do you capture that to prove to the folks that we do uphold regular and effective contact? Compliance number 6, student complaints. Do we have a policy about grievances and complaints, and what do we do with them? They will go back 6 years to determine that we're keeping track of student concerns and complaints, and if we're identifying trends, and are we helping those students go through the appropriate procedures. Compliance number 7, institutional disclosure and advertising and recruitment materials. One of these team members is going to look at all of our marketing. Are we saying that you can get, an ADJU degree in 1 semester? Are we lying to the public, or are we being truthful in all of our marketing? Compliance number 8, Title IV compliance. This is federal financial aid. All of our units, our programs, our distance education up to snuff, so that we don't get in trouble and they take away all of our Pell Grants and all of that sort of stuff. So we have to prove that we're doing fine there. Finally, the last part of the document is our quality focus essay, and this is something new that the ACCJC and our peers have put into place. And it is what it is. Using a format in an essay fashion, identify 2 or 3 projects that involve improving student outcomes that emerge from our day-to-day activities, and from writing this document about how we improve the effectiveness of what we do. And it must be based on our institution's analysis of data collected. And so that will be anywhere from 5 to 10 pages. What do we have in place? What plans are we actively working on to improve student learning? Clear? Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? The timeline is we need to get most of the work done, the evidence gathered, writing the narrative before faculty leave in May. Because we're going to take the summer to edit, to make it flow as one document, and then when people get back in August and September, it will go through the shared governance process. Everybody will get a chance to comment. We need to make it better, all those sorts of things, because they will visit us the end of February or the 1st of March. We need to get it bound and pretty, all those sorts of things. So the work has got to be done this academic year. Chris, you have a question?
Yeah, so as we discover holes or problems, is this our opportunity to fix those?
Oh, God, I hope so.
and write to it as well?
Yes. I am recommending that the committee write in the following fashion. When they address one of these statements, this is our process to get this to happen. This is the result of our process. And here's what we're doing to make it even better. So if we do find that hole, this is the result of this process, or the weak process. The improvement plan then is to improve the process, or to change deadlines, or to put into play some activity that we haven't done before. Yes.
And then just to touch on what happens after that, the team, since we just went through this, the team, how many of you have served on an accreditation team? Anybody? Okay, a couple of people have, good. So the team spends a lot of time, like months, well, at least weeks, reviewing the materials that we send and the evidence. We can say whatever we want, but if it's not supported by evidence, then it doesn't matter, okay? So the team reviews the evidence, and they review our self-evaluation. They go on our website. We have to send our catalog, our schedule. We have to send a lot of material to each team member in printed format and then on a CD that they can put in their computer or flash drive. Then their purpose when they come to the college and they spend 4 days here, and their purpose is to determine whether what we said is true or not. That's the whole point of the team coming to the college. And part of it is, our attitude at Allen Hancock was, is there anything that you didn't put in as evidence, but you're really doing? Help us understand what you're really doing. So it's peer evaluation. And the team is actually coming here to find out all the good stuff that's happened. And then to also assess whether there are some things that were not. Then they send their report to ACCJC. And even though we're in the process of determining whether that's going to be our accrediting agency forever, it will be for the next 8 to 10 years. There's no doubt about that, okay? And ACCJC then makes a determination based on that report whether the college is granted full accreditation or sanctions. And the sanctions are you can be put on warning or you can be put on show cause, which means that you have to show that you should be able to continue that college. Okay? So does that get the point across that this is a pretty important year for us? And that it's really important that, as Chris said, as we uncover some things, because it's very specific, right? You saw that from what Stephen said, and he just gave you a taste of what each of the standards require. Like he said, he showed you one and there might be 16. And each one of those is a ton of work and a ton of evidence that we have. And we're doing a great job in some of the areas, and we have some room for improvement in others. And now's the time for us to just go ahead and make those improvements. Some of them will be simple, and then we can just write that it's done, that we meet the standard. And others, as Stephen said, if it's going to take a little longer, then we say, here's how we are right now, but here's what we have in place. By the time the team gets here, all they do is verify, did we do what we said?
Right, that would be new evidence that we would have to provide that we have moved forward, and they will write that up, and then the commission, the team does not make the final determination. The commission up in Nevada, I almost said Sacramento, but they're from a different location, sits down and reads the visiting team's reports and decides on the level of severity. So everybody in this room has the potential of meeting with these folks. They'll want to meet with student government, they'll want to meet with SLOAC, they'll want to meet with the Shared Governance Council, they'll want to meet with the Board of Trustees. Everybody, they could stop you on the sidewalk and say, hey, did you hear about the great shakeout, and what information did you get and how easy was it to get? So it can, they can drill down that far.
That's a really good point for 4A. 4A, the example that Stephen gave right there, do you understand the decision-making process at this college? And that's that chart that we printed out and we gave to everybody that shows the flow of, from an idea all the way to the Board of Governors, a Board of Trustees for approval. And so everybody should understand that. I like accreditation. I think it's our chance to show what a good job we're doing.
Absolutely.
So I hope we approach it like that, because there are some really cool things happening here, and it's our chance to write it down and tell a team that comes from all over the state, and even as far as Hawaii. There will be probably 12 to 13 people who come here. They've never met each other usually, or maybe one or two know each other, but they're a team that comes from a lot of different places. And they're here just to see how we're doing.
Check us out.
Yeah.
And if we have, but let's not hide anything, let's not bury it, because they'll find it. We'll just say how we're going to improve it. And I do have some evidence right here in front of me about student success. I'm segueing into kudos.
Good job.
Each cosmetology student needs to pass 2 exams for the state board. From October 1st, 15 to December 31st, 15, 4 students took 8 exams and 100% passed. From January 16 to March 16, 5 students took 10 exams and 100% passed. From April through June, 12 took 23 exams and passed 19. That's 82.6%. But faculty have assured me that they encourage students to go back and retake what they didn't pass the first time. And so kudos to hospitality faculty. Kudos to the all-night M&O staff for being responsive and proactive and friendly and helpful to all faculty and staff who are on campus after 6 p.m. From Dean Shreve, you folks are great. Glenn Farr, always going above and beyond to support instructors and students. Big thanks for all he does. From Jill Murphy. Glenn, you are great, boss. And kudos to Jeffrey Bishop. Jeffrey is a student worker for Student Life. He's very encouraging with his style and motivation, assisting all campus clubs with their event projects. He provides support with setting up all events and assists in many ways. He has a positive attitude with student engagement, and that's from Joanne Garcia.
Kudos to you, Stephen. Nice
Oh,
presentation. Okay.
Okay, just a couple of announcements here. First of all, we've updated and we're continuing to update the news and events section on the front page of our website. So if you go there, you'll see most of the student events are publicized there, and any of the all college type events are going to be publicized there. And it's a simple menu item that you can click on the different dates, and it'll tell you what's happening on those dates. We're also publishing the student activities calendar that's published each month and comes out before the first of the month. So for October, I believe Joanne's already sent that into approval, and it will be available soon. There's a couple of changes, though, that I need to mention, or things that were left off so far. One of those is the art show. The art show is scheduled for November 16th through December 6th, and we're going to have a opening reception at 5:30 p.m. on November 16th. So make sure you add that to your calendars. The fall production of Everything in the Garden. Originally, it was announced it was going to be on the 14th, 15th, 20th, and 21st and 22nd. They've taken off the last day of that, so no longer is it going to be on the 22nd. And for those of you that are faculty, staff, or management, if you do not have a picture on the wall in the hall of the administration building, we want you to have one. And so this Thursday from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we're going to take pictures again of any staff. And if you've already got your picture up there, but it's an old one, or if you don't like it, you can come and redo your photograph. And that'll be in the lobby of the LRC, right in that little reception room. So you can call Evelyn. Evelyn Haas is my new secretary, an intern secretary. She'll be here through November though. And so I called her to schedule an appointment for those photos. And then finally, we are sending out a district newsletter each month to the staff, faculty, and management. In the district newsletter, we have different sections that are emphasizing different departments. And we encourage you, if you have newsworthy items, to send them to me by October 14th, so we can include that in the next October newsletter. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Take a big on your way out, okay?
Yes. We're done? Start.
Oh, we need to put the chair.